My name is Alex Paton, ex-pro cyclist, bike nerd and GCN presenter. In 4 months, I'm going to race the best gravel racers in the world at Unbound, the biggest, the toughest and most famous gravel race on the planet. My mission is not just to complete, but to compete, because I want to go elbow to elbow with the very best and fight for a place inside the top 20. Now this is going to be one hell of a challenge, and I'm going to have to train harder and smarter than ever before. I'm going to leave no stone unturned in my quest to get the fastest bike and equipment that I can get my hands on. And I'm going to do all of this while still filming all of our usual videos. And perhaps most importantly of all, trying not to piss off my wife as I spend every spare minute of my time trying to get race ready. Over the next few months, you guys can join me in my journey to get race fit, as well as learning from experts on heat, hydration, training, tech, and marital guidance. No, hopefully that won't actually be necessary. I'm not the first person to throw their hat into the ring for Unbound, and I certainly won't be the last. And this is actually the great thing about gravel racing, is because effectively everyone races together. The pros set off, and then you've got the amateurs that set off just behind. While it won't be easy, I at least think I should be okay. I've got plenty of racing experience. I raced as a pro on the road, and I've got lots of off-road experience too, having represented Great Britain at junior level for both the mountain biking and cyclocross world championships twice. However, I'm not exactly the biggest fan of really long rides, and my last one didn't exactly end well. Now that I've told you my goal, I need to work out how to get there. And in this video, I'm gonna assess my current level of fitness and then find out what power is required to actually be competitive at Unbound. And then that way, I can plan how much training and hard work there is to actually do. I'm also going to speak to 2 Unbound veterans. Firstly, Dylan Johnson, who placed inside the top 10 at the 2024 edition of Unbound, and then also Conor Dunn, who in 2023 was in the mix with the leaders for the first 3 miles, before gradually fading over the next 198 miles to eventually finish up last.
Oi! Wasn't last, second last, out of the pros.
I'm also going to be getting a feeling for what Unbound race pace is really like, and to do that, I'm going to create a mini Unbound right here in my own backyard. For that though, I am going to need a willing breakaway accomplice. Unfortunately, there were no willing volunteers available, so I have got the next best thing, Si Richardson. What are we doing? We are going gravel racing, 30 miles as fast as possible. Ready? Yeah. I want to stop now. Can you make it stop? I am going to be diving deeper into the stats though, because as fun as it is smashing full gas along the gravel, I am going to need to be specific and precise with my training in order to stand any chance of success. So I understand the time demands of the event, 10 hours-ish, but I don't yet understand what kind of power is going to be required to achieve that. Now, while a power meter certainly isn't an essential tool, in my eyes, it is a hugely valuable training tool. And thanks to the kind guys at Favero, well, they've actually kitted me out with a new set of their off-road Asioma Pro MX2 dual-sided power meter pedals to give me more data than I could possibly shake a stick at. Now, having used these pedals in the past, I'm excited to get my hands on another set, and I'm going to dive deeper into some of the metrics and stats that you can get from those later on in this video.
So what are we actually doing today?
Right, I've got a cracking little route lined up for us. Now, England isn't exactly awash with amazing gravel, but this stuff here is about as good as it gets. Now, we are riding some of the perimeter path around the Salisbury Plain, which is a massive military training area here in the southwest of England. Now, we're going to be going as fast as possible, and I suspect and hope our film crew can't keep up with us. So I've also kitted us out with some latest Insta360s for us to capture everything.
Well, yeah, so I've got mine mounted on my stem here. Alex has gone full influencer mode. I'll be impressed if that stays stable on gravel, mate.
I mean, you might laugh, but this thing is going to be incredible for capturing all of your suffering in a whopping 8K for everyone to enjoy.
8K. Oh my goodness. I don't think I want to see that.
Right. No time like the present. To the gravel. Can we fist bump before we go?
Oh, it's like that, is it?
Yeah, come on.
It's the last bit of niceness from Alex for the next hour and a half.
Actually, I want to take my jacket
Come on,
off.
mate, keep up.
I want to take this big jacket off.
Too late.
We've got an average of over almost 300 watts now. 315 normalised. Oh boy, here he goes. Just got to keep it up for another 10 hours or so come race day. Ah. I mean, it feels like a start of a race to me, yeah. While Si and I settle into our mini Unbound race, I want to talk stats and power data with one of the biggest bike nerds I know. Someone who has already surpassed my goal with his own top 10 at Unbound, Dylan Johnson.
I mean, what I'll say is I've never raced you before, so I don't know how strong you are, but luckily we do have power meters, so we can try to be objective about this. So yeah, I'm interested to get into it here. I mean, I think the first thing we got to start with is FTP, right?
Okay, yeah, so FTP, let's go 345 watts. And that's like an actual power I held on Zwift for an hour rather than like an estimate taken from a shorter period of time. I'm also gonna do a more recent sort of like FTP simulation test using the grade on Zwift as well. So I think there's more to come. I don't think that's my best right now, and hopefully I can bump that up, you know, come Unbound.
Okay.
But that's where we're at.
And how much do you weigh?
75 kilos.
What I'll say about Unbound is that FTP is certainly important, but I think that what's more important than FTP would be, say, if you've got your 4-hour power, your 5-hour power. Most people don't know their 10-hour power, which Unbound's probably going to be a 9 or 10-hour event. And I don't expect anyone to know their 10-hour power because that's a crazy long duration. But I'm wondering if you do know your 5-hour power, your 4-hour power.
Okay, so I've got 4-hour, 5-hour power and 10-hour power, but I'm going to say I don't actually think any of those are the best of what I could actually achieve, if that makes sense. So 10-hour power is like, we're talking 180 watts, but that includes like a catastrophic bonk, like the worst that you would have ever seen in your entire life. I haven't even done a 5-hour ride fully this year yet. I almost did 5 hours the other day, but there we're talking, again, just under 200 watt average. And I'm feeling like 4 hours, I did 4 hours on Zwift. You might say I'm crazy, but 250 watts of 4 hours. There's some like recent ballpark figures.
And I'm assuming that none of those were maximal. So you didn't finish those and felt like that was as hard as you could go.
No, there's more in the tank. And that's the tricky thing, because like no one actually really goes out and rides for 4 hours as hard as physically possible until race day, and then you get a shock.
I mean, we can work with that a little bit. As far as FTP goes, just if we want to do a comparison with your numbers right now, which I'm assuming they're going to be higher on race day, but your numbers right now versus my numbers on race day from last year, my FTP was about 375, and that was at 70 kilos.
Okay.
Like I said, I think FTP, while it is important, I actually think that your durability and your 5-hour power is more important for Unbound, because it's not really one of these races where you're going to have a 20-minute climb where somebody's 20-minute watts per kilo is very important to get into that group. It's just rolling hills constantly for a 9 to 10 hour period, and it's a war of attrition. The front group will just get smaller and smaller and smaller throughout the day as riders are either able to withstand or not able to withstand that constant riding at tempo power. Every once in a while, there will be attacks that are punchy on a short climb, but for the most part, I think that 5 to 10 hour power is probably the most critical thing for Unbound. My race time last year was, I believe, 9 hours and 16 minutes. I got it in front of me here, 9 hours and 16 minutes. And that was, my normalized power for that duration was 283 watts. Again, that's at 70 kilos. So I believe, if my math is correct, that's right around 4 watts per kilo for 9 hours. Normalized power was 241 watts.
Yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable. That's currently the average that I've done for 4 hours, but you've done 9 hours 16 and 4 kilos lighter than me.
There are other factors to consider here. I think that one factor that a lot of people forget about is that Unbound is usually extremely hot, and that will wreak havoc on your power late into the race. You know, some people may say, oh yeah, I mean, that power is good, but I mean, I can hold that for 5 to 6 hours. I do that for 5 to 6 hours. And I really think that that last 3 hours of Unbound, when it's brutally hot and you've already ridden 6, 7 hours, it is actually crazy how much your power can drop then. And that'll make a massive difference to your final placing, because that is kind of the critical moment where people either completely crack and fall back to, 80th place, 100th place, or break into that top 20 or top 10.
Do you think I stand any chance of breaking into the top 20 if it all goes to plan? Or do you think, you can be totally honest here, like, do you think I'm really missing the mark, or do you think we're in the realms of possibility?
Even if right now you were fit enough to break into the top 20 at Unbound, you had a 10-hour power of 4 watts per kilo, and you had an FTP of 5.5 watts per kilo, which I think those are probably around the numbers that you're looking at to do a top 20 at Unbound. Even if you had those numbers right now, I think that being that it's your first Unbound, breaking into the top 20 would be difficult. And I say that because a lot of people who aren't used to gravel racing, professionals that aren't used to gravel racing, maybe they're professional road racers, come over to do Unbound. I don't know what kind of expectation they have, but usually, and some of them might get upset at this, usually the results are underwhelming. And I think it's just because it's a different style of racing than they're used to. They're really not used to pushing that sustained power for 10 plus hours. They're not used to the heat. They're not used to the mechanicals that you can get. Gravel, especially gravel at Unbound, is a very mechanical, heavy event. Like, you're probably going to get a flat tire. You're probably going to have some sort of issue with your chain, and you really need to have this mindset that no matter what happens to your bike, you fix it and you keep going, because it's a long race and anything can happen.
I don't want to say I'm disappointed to hear that you think it's going to be difficult, because it's almost like that's actually going to spur me on more, because now I want to try and prove you wrong. I don't know if that's even possible, but now I've got like that extra motivation to be like, right, Dylan says he doesn't think I can do this, but I got to prove him wrong. I think one of the coolest things I think that could even happen would be making it into that front like group at Unbound and just ripping along and be like, Dylan, I'm here.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I would love to see you prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I hope it is motivation for you.
Yeah, it is. Mega, mate, thanks very much. Guess I'll see you at Unbound. While getting a feel for the pace on the rough stuff is great, it is also important to get a marker of my current ability. So I've got the Pro MX2s linked up to Zwift, and I'm going to take on the grade. This is going to enable me to estimate my FTP. Now, I know this is only one piece of the puzzle, but it is an important metric to take note of, and it's also something that I can check back on in the future to see if all of my training and hard work has actually paid off and I've made some progress. Now, a large proportion of my training is going to be done off-road, but not all of it. And this is the beauty of using a pedal-based power meter system, is I can easily switch these between different bikes, meaning I'm going to have confidence in the power numbers that I'm seeing. In terms of their actual design, well, we've got a completely sealed stainless steel pedal axle here with an integrated rechargeable battery, helping to keep everything as robust and reliable as possible. And the actual pedal body itself is easily replaceable and at sensible prices too. In terms of some of the battery life, well, we've got a claimed battery life of a single charge of at least 60 hours, which by my calculations means theoretically you could do 6 Unbounds back to back on a single charge. Oh boy. But using power is just one piece of the puzzle, because in addition to that, I'm also going to be using my Wahoo heart rate monitor and a core body temperature sensor paired up to my head unit. Now, the reason I've got all of this information is because I'm also going to be doing some additional heat training to help acclimatize and make my body more effective in the heat. There's also a bunch of mega metrics which you can view on the Favero app. Now, of course, you've got all of your usual power metrics, stats and data, but there's also a few metrics that set these pedals apart from others. I mean, for starters, they've got something called IAV, which stands for Instantaneous Angular Velocity. And it's this tech which is able to take into account pedaling irregularities, such as things like sprints or climbs, and it means you get an accuracy of plus or minus 1%, even when you're using oval chain rings. Now, I've also got a set of brand new shoes on today, and there's a cool feature here which allows you to view your platform center offset, which is really helpful for setting and fine-tuning the position of your cleats. And it would appear, yeah, that mine need a bit of adjustment. But still, there's even more data to see than that. You've also got your left to right balance, you've got your power phase, you've got your torque efficiency, you've got your pedal smoothness, and something called rider positioning, which allows you to see how much time you spent in the saddle or pedaling standing up. Seeing as I quite like to suffer in silence my fitness test, well, back to Si me, out in the real world, shredding the gravel.
Line choice, everything in gravel. Si's gone left, I've gone right. The breakaway is fully established. Oh boy, it's tough.
With our routes being short and it being so cold today, fueling and hydration isn't quite as crucial as it will be come race day. So to help me avoid some catastrophic mistakes in that department, in a few weeks I'll be visiting the experts from Precision Fuel and Hydration. But before then, I want to chat to Conor to hear about his experience from back in 2023.
Right, first and foremost, don't underestimate the temperature, because you start super early in the morning, It's quite cool, and the temperature hits at like pretty much noon, the sun hits you, it just ramps up straight to 40 degrees Celsius. So you have this like lull at the beginning, the false sense of security, where you're like, it's cool, it's nice, and then suddenly you just get wham.
Like someone cranks the heating on.
Yeah, okay. So you don't you really need to stay on top of your hydration throughout for that moment, in my opinion. Yeah. And not be like, oh, this is cool, I'm fine, unless you drink like normal, and then the heat hits you without, and maybe you have like, even if you do like half an hour in that heat without paying attention to it, it catches up with you so fast.
And that was something I feel like caught you out a little bit, right?
100%, that was the biggest thing that caught me out. Because it not only caught me out, but then like I couldn't rectify my mistake because it's self-supported.
Oh, yeah.
So you have this just 4 stations where you can get water, unless you're relying on like the generosity and the kindness of like a passerby who's there for everyone else. Yeah. You can't there's nowhere else to get water. Okay, so right, I need to get that nailed. Messed up big time. I knew it, and that was me done. And all I could do was like creep to get to the next thing.
What about in terms of equipment?
Most of the course is like pretty light gravel, but there's a lot where it's like there are rough sections, and like it's been spoken about a lot. Like it's quite easy to puncture on those like these flints.
Yeah.
So I'd go as wide as possible on tyres.
Okay, chunkiest boys I can get my hands on.
Chunkiest boys you can, but then you also need to have like a few different setups that you can play around with on the race day, depending on what the conditions are going to be.
In case there's a mud curveball.
This is a mud curveball, or if there's rain, or if like it's been like super dry. I think you need to, be able to have those options when you get out there. Get some local knowledge and like ask around and get like pointers, because the course changes every year.
Yeah.
So try and find out where the like hardest point's going to be. And this is like, I think obviously everyone's doing it, and some people know more than others, and that's a really big hand to play. But understanding the course is a huge part. So if you can know where that's going to be, and like if it is going to be muddy, like mud clearance is huge. And like mud sticks, and knowing how to get rid of that mud quick and not messing your bike up totally, and like nursing yourself through it.
If I'm honest, I'm really praying for it to be dry.
Yeah. But it's fun in the mud. It's fun. But it's an absolutely different beast, and you have to be aware of it.
And most importantly, is you all enjoy it, right?
Enjoy it, and it's just enjoy it. It's such a cool race. I absolutely love it. So enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy getting soaked up in it.
Stop now! Can you make it stop? I just don't know what to say. How many K to go? I'm gonna say, miles if we're working in Unbound, Probably about 10. If we want to stand any chance of matching Unbound pace, we've got to get it done in under half hour. Oh boy! That's probably the fastest I've ever been down there. Oh man, that is horrible. We're done. I hate you. Pretty sure you said it was a cafe ride. and then we didn't say it's a cafe ride. I literally said at the start we're doing a race. Yeah. Well, I'll put it there first. Oh, thanks. Hey, that was good fun, actually. How far have we gone? 30 miles. Right. Which is what proportion of Unbound? We've done 30 miles, which is 15% of Unbound, and we did it in 1 hour 30 and 5 seconds, which is 32.7 k an hour average speed, which means we didn't actually go fast enough. Oh. Why do we fail at everything? I mean, I don't actually want to say the real answer. I'd like to say perhaps today it's because it was 3.5 degrees, headwind. Yeah. This is obviously a lot harder than Unbound, like a lot harder. And I don't think my tyre pressure was optimal. That was mega fun, though. It was mega fun. I tell you what, mate, you're going to have a wicked time doing all of this. Good luck to you. I think I've got quite a bit of hard work to do. I think you've got quite a bit of hard work to do.
So, what have I actually learned from these tests and conversations? Well, it has been super helpful, and in the simplest way possible, I just need to do everything I possibly can to maximise the performance I can get from my body, and then also minimise all of the losses from my bike and equipment setup. We need to focus on things like effective training, good nutrition. I need to get my fueling and hydration spot on come race day. I need to maximise my body's efficiency in the heat. And then on the other side of the picture and other pieces of the puzzle, well, I need to minimise the losses from my bike. So I need to have a bike that is optimised to the nth degree. I need to use an aerodynamic clothing. I need to ride in an aerodynamic position. And unique to Unbound, I need to use the fattest and fastest, most reliable tyres I can possibly get my hands on. And then in addition to all that, I need to plan how to carry all the fuel and hydration and spares that I need with me in the fastest, most efficient way possible. And then I need to work out how to do the fastest F1 style pit stop changes at the 2 checkpoints during the race. Right, first, we need to talk about the stats from Mine and Si's ride. So, we did 49 kilometres, which is less than 20% of the Unbound total race distance, and we did that in a time of 1 hour, 29 minutes and 37 seconds. Average power for me, 284 watts, 299 watt normalized. We'll put size figures up on screen as well. I had an average heart rate of 144 beats a minute, a maximum heart rate of 166 beats a minute. So those are some of the headline stats. But what about some of the tougher spikes for shorter durations? Because often in races, this is where a lot of the damage can be done and where the real hurt starts to come into the legs. So for our mini Unbound, I had a highest average 20-minute power of 304 watts. That was towards the start of the ride. I got a highest 5-minute power of 340 watts. As you can probably guess, this was up the longest, steepest climb on our route. And then I got a 1 minute at 446 watts. Now, anyone who has actually used a power meter before will know that some of those numbers are actually pretty spicy. But without trying to sound incredibly big-headed and arrogant, those are not actually the best power numbers that I'm capable of right now, and nor are they the best that I've ever done in the past. So, back in 2017, 18, 19, maybe even to 2020, in my racing days, I could do 420 watts for 20 minutes. I could do 490 watts for 5 minutes, and I could do 660 watts for 1 minute. Now, while I don't think I can achieve those numbers right now, I do think I can get much, much closer to them. Now, the pressure is most certainly on to try to achieve that come race day, and I am as determined as ever, not only to prove to myself that I can do it, but I also want to try and prove Dylan Johnson wrong and break into that top 20. And you know what? If it doesn't happen, I just want to be able to hold my head high and say I did my bloody best. So perhaps more questions than answers at the moment, but exciting times nonetheless, and very much food for thought. And then finally, I want to hear from someone who knows me better than anyone else in the entire world. And that is my wife, Chloe.
Chloe, welcome to GCN Megabase. The $1 million question, do you think Alex can make top 20 at Unbound?
Potentially.
Potentially?
Yeah.
Okay, what makes you say that?
Well, Alex is he's super stubborn and determined, so I think if he wants to do something, he's got his heart set on, he'll do everything he can to, make it happen. So I mean, I don't know I don't know if he is going to be there fitness-wise, but I know that he'll do everything he can to make sure he goes there in great shape. So unless something terrible happens on the day,
touch wood.
Yeah, I think he's got a good chance.
Okay, and you've seen this. Well, I'm guessing you've seen his stubbornness in action on many things, not just cycling, but in terms of his racing, you were together when he was a pro, right?
Yeah.
So you've seen this attention to detail, this approach.
Yeah, very obsessive.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he already taking that approach now?
Yeah, it's literally what he talks about.
Really?
Yeah. And yeah, he's already doing everything, watching what he eats, training. So I really admire his drive and determination, to be fair.
Do you think there are any difficulties that he's going to be facing, not on race day, but in the lead up to it? What do you foresee as being the challenges?
I think just fitting training around a full-time job and life. I mean, when he was a pro, he was doing that full-time, so he had all day to train. But, you've got to fit it around working life and, other things like seeing friends and family and just, yeah, it's not going to be as easy. So it's going to be trying to fit in the miles and the training where he can without it sort of completely taking over his life.
Are you going to call him out if he becomes an absolute pain?
Yeah, I already have.
Have you?
So there you go, the bar has been set. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and I am keen to hear your thoughts on how you believe I'm going to get on at Unbound, so get involved in the comment section down below. And if you want to see my journey and progress in the build-up, well, subscribe to GCN and GCN Tech, because I'm going to be making regular videos documenting my process and my nerdy approach to the bike setup. Right, I'm out of here. See you later. Also, wish me luck.